I need to start this video off by saying thank you to the now over 800 of you who watched my last video and left meaningful comments, great feedback or encouragement, and just in general subscribing to this channel. And so I'm just grateful and humble that there are people reacting as positively as I've seen on my last video. So thank you very much for that. Now, if you're curious, I live in Arizona. I am in my early 30s and it is very hot, and combine that with a receding hairline I have been a little self-conscious about. I just decided have my entire family shave my head. So my wife and my kids are out here, and that's what they're doing, is just taking it all down to nothing. So I needed to do that before this next shoot, and let's now get on to the behind the scenes for that. A few weeks ago, Verizon, or a franchise of Verizon, reached out to me and asked if I would be interested in filming for two different dates. One date was to get coverage of them surprising an animal rescue with a $10,000 grant. And the next day was then going to be interviewing that same animal rescue and asking them some questions about the grant and what it means to them. So, with my shiny bald head, I have now arrived for the first date. This is where the animal rescue is going to find out via an Instagram live. And so this is going to be really cool to see the reaction. Now, if you're curious why for a shoot like this, I'm choosing to use an easy rig, some people think it looks like overkill, but what was important to me on this shoot was just being very mobile, very efficient, and able to change the shot depending on what's happening. A tripod is a little bit too slow and restrictive. Same with a monopod, in my opinion. Not to say that I can't do it with a monopod, but just an easy rig to me was the right choice. The last thing that I'll note is I could have also just gone handheld, but the way that I have my camera set up, it's just a little bit heavy, and if I'm supposed to hold a shot for a minute, it's not a big deal. But if I don't know when the announcement's going to happen, I might be holding that shot for 3 minutes or 5 minutes. And I don't mind standing there, but I definitely don't want to be holding my camera's weight on my arms only the entire time. So the easy rig is just a nice compromise on being super flexible, being super mobile. Yes, it might look like overkill, but it allowed me to stand in one spot for a few minutes waiting for that reaction to happen. And so that's why I chose to use that piece of equipment. So we wrapped this day up. It was about 1 hour round trip of driving, and it was about 1 hour of shooting. So a super easy day. And then, of course, after they won, I told them that I would email them and schedule in about a week their date for doing an interview at their location. So that's what's coming next. Here I am at the Animal Rescue's physical location. They're over in Scottsdale, Arizona, and it's such a cool looking building. It's actually by appointment only. Apparently during COVID, they, made it to where it's appointment only. It's not just open to the public, walk in. You have to schedule. So knowing that, we basically were able to block off our interview time, and we knew that it wasn't going to be filled with distractions from other people who were, just going there to see the animals and potentially adopt one. All that to say, my concern, while you are watching us kind of just tour the building, my concern was Verizon wanted a few shots of people playing with dogs or cats. And I didn't know who I would or would not have access to, or who would be willing to give permission if I were to catch them on camera. So what I decided to do was bring my oldest child. She was more than happy to come see the dogs and the cats. And I brought her so that she could, one, she could, number one, film some behind the scenes, which she was really excited to do. But also, if we wanted to get somebody playing with kittens or, playing with dogs, we could utilize her and I could just give them permission to use her likeness. And that was just going to be an easy win-win situation. My kid gets to play with animals, and Verizon, if they wanted to, could use the shots of her playing with, the animals at the rescue. So it's the very first time I brought my daughter to a shoot. She did really well, actually. She helped me a bunch, and she was very excited to just see her dad work and help in any way that she could. So that was really awesome to bond over something like filmmaking. So for the interview, we really didn't have a choice. There was some beautiful exterior areas that I would have loved to use, but the problem is we're next to a road and we're in a shopping center. So there's a lot of vehicles going around, and I just didn't want to risk having a great take, but the audio gets messed up because of traffic or an airplane. We're also near an airport. So there's that. And then inside, half of the building is, animals. And if the animals see you, they start to bark or make noises. So then that limits you to the quiet side of the building, which had a conference room, office scenario, and that looked fine. And then we had the main lobby. The main lobby was great because it had these large windows on one side. I opted to use those windows as our lighting. And I did bring in my Nanlite 300B Mark II to lift the shadow side. We were going for a little bit of a high key look. We didn't want it to be moody by any means. This is an exciting, happy video. So again, we just kind of opted for this look. The only downside to this room was the audio as well. Even though it was quiet, it is a large room, and we didn't have the time to bring in sound blankets and quiet it down. And the lavalier microphones that I had were still picking up that reverb. I have a couple other microphones that were out on rental, and they would have done a much better job just getting her dialogue and not picking up the echo, but I didn't have access to them. So what we did was we used the Rode NTG2. And again, this is just feeding into my camera. I can go into like a Zoom F3, but this is just going into my primary camera. I had two 6K Pros, one with a 24-70, one with a 70-200, and they were time coded so that we can synchronize them pretty quickly in post. But anyways, we're using the NTG2, and just listen to this audio that came directly from the mic.
We have an amazing community here in North Scottsdale specifically, but also all throughout the valley.
I think everybody can agree there's way too much reverb, there's way too much echo. But here's what I did. Instead of just sending Verizon these clips and the interview and saying, best of luck, here's what I did instead. I took the audio into some software that I have, and I tried my best to remove the reverb and EQ her voice just a little bit, not too much to where they couldn't do other things with her voice to make it sound its best, but just enough to where it sounds like a much cleaner version. So I'll let you take a listen to that.
We have an amazing community here in North Scottsdale specifically, but also all throughout the valley.
So as you can hear, it does sound a lot better. Maybe it's not perfect to you, but to me, I'm much more confident sending that to them. And so I wrote that in the email and I said, hey, there's a lot of echo in the room, but I did some EQ and de-reverb, and here you go. Here's the audio file just in case you want to use mine, or you can, of course, work on the audio yourself with the original. So I gave them the options. They were super thrilled with everything that we did. Hopefully I get hired again if they ever have more work in Arizona. But anyways, that kind of wraps it up. This was a very simple shoot. We got to film their excitement for receiving a grant from Verizon, which I thought was, pretty incredible for them to receive. And it's going to hopefully go a long way to help them and the animals that they have. And we were able to film this cool interview. And then we also just got shots of all these cute little animals that need new homes. So I will say, if you are in Arizona, if you're looking for a pet, a dog or a cat, check these guys out. I'll go ahead and link them. I don't have any affiliates with them, but I don't have any association or connection to them outside of this job. But, if you are looking for a pet and you're in Arizona, they just seemed so genuine, so loving, and I think that you would be very happy with a rescued pet from this facility. But anyways, thank you all again. I mean, I just cannot thank you enough for the amount of support and this, influx of subscribers and just people interacting. It is humbling. It's overwhelming. It is just such an amazing opportunity. And I will do my best to come out with more videos and add as much value to this community as I possibly can. And I'll see you on the next video.